everybody, my name is Carly Cheyenne and today is Halloween. So since it is a spooky season, I was looking up some ghost stories on Facebook, and we natives have a lot of ghost stories. I truly believe that every native has a good ghost story. You just ask anyone and I swear there's even a lot from my reserve too. So if you ever want to read some good ones, there's some on Facebook called Resi Ghost Stories or Native Ghost Stories. Check them out sometime. So today I'm going to share some of the spooky paranormal occurrences that have happened in my life. So grab your trick-or-treating candy, get comfy, and let's get started. So actually, before I begin, I know that in our culture you're not supposed to really talk about ghost stories because that kind of sends out a message to the spirits. So if anyone's listening, if any spirits are listening, I'm not asking to be haunted. This is just a fun video for Halloween. So I guess what I've experienced the most is ghost cars. So this one time my dad and I were driving, and I was driving and we were coming up towards the hill, and then coming towards us was a semi and then a small car behind it. So we were really into our conversation and we're talking away. And then we noticed when the semi passed, the car wasn't behind us. We were like, did you see that? Did you notice that too? So the next one that happened was me and my girlfriend were driving, and there's a town 20 minutes away from our reserve, and we went there to go grab some food and like spend money we didn't have at Walmart. So we're on our way home and it was dark, and we're used to driving at night because, you know, we're used to driving to the city or to the next town over. And we approached the intersection and we turned this way, and that's towards the res. And so we saw a semi coming, so we stopped and we looked in the back for something. And I swear, we turned our head for like 5 to 10 seconds and we looked back to see if the semi passed so we can go. And there was nothing. It was totally dark outside. There were no other vehicles. We looked in every direction where the semi could have gone, but we did not see it. And we heard some stories about that road as well, and her friends have experienced stuff on that road, so we just floored it home. So my last story about ghost cars is something that happened to me when I was about, I'm gonna say 16 years old. This one time my mom dropped me off at my friend's house, and at my friend's house, she lives down this like long road where there's like a house, then a little ways a house, and then a little ways and then her house. And when my mom dropped me off, my friend was like, oh, do you want to go hang out with our friend over at the next town site? So we walked over and we're hanging out like for the entire evening, and I was supposed to sleep at my friend's house, and then my mom called me and she's like, oh, I'm gonna pick you up, and this is like around midnight. And so I, for some reason, thought, okay, well, I'm just gonna go grab my stuff at my friend's house and just wait over there because I didn't want to like get her to pick me up and then drive over there. I don't know what I was thinking. So I told my friends, okay, I'm gonna go back to your house and then pick up my stuff, and they were like, okay, sure. And so I left the house, and it was dark, like it was midnight, and the only lights that you can see were from like the yard lights. This was before cell phones with flashlights. I'm really aging myself here. And so I left the town site area, and the way the location looked is that there's the town site here, the main road, the train tracks, and then you keep going forward, and then my friend's road is down that way. So as I was leaving my friend's house, the town site area, I saw this car approaching and crossing the tracks. And I thought immediately, okay, please don't stop. So I was walking, and it, sure enough, was slowing down. So I took out my 2008 BlackBerry, and I had my mom's phone number like ready to call in case if anything happens. And so the car like slowly comes up to me and stops right in front of me. And it was like this old Oldsmobile Cadillac kind of like white car. And all of the windows were all tinted, so I couldn't even see anything in there. Then the person inside asked me where I was going. And I was like really scared, but I was like really trying to play it cool, like, oh, I'm just walking. So I was like, oh, I'm just walking to my friend's house just over there. And they told me, run, don't stop. And then they drove away really fast. And so I thought, like, what the heck? So I like took off running, like just booking it to my friend's house. And not long after, my mom got there, and I didn't even tell anyone till like probably years later. I finally told one of my friends that I was at their house with, and they were like freaked out. So I don't know, we talked about it and we think it was a ghost car. So I don't know, if you guys have ever experienced something like that, let me know. So this one time my girlfriend and I were watching a movie in my room, just a regular night. So my family, they were sitting in the living room on the couches watching like a country music award show. And then me and Hallie were in my room and we were watching The Book of Life. And so we're like sitting there all comfy, and then I hear very loud and clearly, car. And that's like what my family says when they call me. Like I hear them shouting from the living room, car. And that's like, Hallie heard it too, so we jokingly was like, ugh. I got up because we were so comfy, and I paused it and I was like, okay, be right back. And then I walked out into the living room and I was like, what? Then my family, like my mom and my brother, were sitting there on the couches, and they like looked at each other and they're like, we didn't say anything. Me and Hallie heard it like so clearly, and like the TV wasn't even that loud. and we couldn't even hear the TV from inside my room. So I don't know, that was really weird. So I don't know how old I was when this happened, but I really like remember it specifically. And I was sleeping in my bed. Oh god, I must have been like 5 or something, I don't know. So yeah, I was sleeping in my bed, and the way my bed was, there was like, it's kind of like in the middle of the room, not really in the middle of the room, but like there was a space between the wall and the bed. And I was sleeping, and then I felt something like grab my side, grab my stomach kind of, and I remember getting up and like being scared and like going to my parents' room and like sleeping on the foot of their bed because I didn't want to like wake them up, so I like slept in their bed with them. And I remember waking up the next morning and thinking, like, did that really happen, or was it just a dream? Because I remember like being grabbed. So this last story is definitely the scariest thing that's ever happened to me, and this time I actually saw a ghost or a spirit, or I don't know. This happened when I was probably about 18, because that's when we moved into our brand new house on the reserve here, and it was probably 6 months in. So one night it was just me and my mom at home, and it was probably around midnight. That's when we went to bed, and I was laying in my room, and I remember like I couldn't even sleep for some reason. Like I felt tired, but I couldn't sleep. And the way my room is, there's a bed, and then at the foot of the bed there's a lamp with, it's like half lamp, half lava lamp, and so it was like emitting this like blue light all around my room. And I was thinking, is that why I'm not able to sleep? So I was just like kind of laying there like trying to force myself to sleep. And then eventually I started getting this like really, I don't know, weird feeling. Like, you know, when you can just feel someone staring at you, like that's what I felt. So I was laying there and I was like, okay, I'm probably just like psyching myself out. I'll try to force myself to sleep. And then eventually like I just couldn't sleep, so I had that ugly feeling. So I thought, okay, it's probably nothing. So I turned around, and right beside me, right beside my bed, was this little boy who was probably like 6, and he looked so angry, and he was just breathing really hard, and he had like really old clothes, and I just stared at him for like a few seconds. Like I was so scared. So I stared at him, and I closed my eyes, and I like squeezed them really hard for like 3 seconds, and I was like thinking like this isn't happening. So I squeezed them and I opened them, and then he was gone. And then I just like bust into my mom's room crying. So the next day my dad comes home, and he's like, oh yeah, we didn't get the house blessed. Right away we're like, oh right, when you get a new house you're supposed to get it blessed. And he was like, okay, well we're gonna get it blessed like tomorrow. And so I was like, okay, cool. So I felt a little bit better that night going to bed, because I knew that our house was gonna get blessed. So I tried to sleep, and I turned off all the lights in case if I saw anything. So I was slowly falling asleep, and then I just felt something like grab my arm. I don't know if it just like grabbed my arm and released, or if it grabbed me and I just jumped up. But I jumped up and I ran crying to my mom's room, and my dad left again. He went for a meeting, and so I bust into my mom's room, and I'm like freaking out, like, Mom, something grabbed me this time. So yeah, that was definitely the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. We've since had our house blessed, so nothing has ever really happened again like that, thankfully. So as I put in the title, I have some pictures, so we're getting to the good stuff here. So I don't know how true or valid this is, but apparently Snapchat can like catch ghosts on your camera, and I don't know how real that is, but I decided to give it a try for myself. So for a little while there in our office, we were kind of experiencing like just a few like little random noises. So it wouldn't be like flat out paranormal things, just like one time in one of our meetings, there's the 3 of us, and we're sitting there and we hear like footsteps coming towards where we're meeting. We all just like stopped and looked at each other, and we were like, did you hear that? So one day I was like, okay, well I'm gonna take it upon myself to see if there's any ghosts, whatever. I was just, I don't know, being an idiot. So I went down to the hallway and I saw this right away. So again, I don't know how real Snapchat is or reliable it is for catching ghosts, but that's what I caught. So I go to show my boss, and she's like freaking out, like not wanting to see it because she like hates ghost stories. I decided to give it a try on my phone, and then she's like, stop, no, and like laughing, freaking out. And then I caught this, and it was like, I remember it was like right in front of me, and we both screamed, and I closed my app. I don't know, it was so scary. Ugh. And it's like mouth is open, and it's like right in front of me too. So yeah, after that I didn't even bother trying to like go ghost hunting. That was my first and last time ghost hunting on Snapchat. So this next one, I wasn't even trying to ghost hunt. I was just like trying to take a selfie with a filter, and this thing pops up right beside me. Like, ugh. Like, I don't know if it was like from the patch on my sweater. I don't know. But yeah, that popped up and I just froze and like took the picture anyway. So this next photo is the most recent thing to happen. This actually happened like earlier this month. My brother and I just like hung out at home and we were playing Mario Party, and it was like around midnight and we're still playing and having a good time. Then all of a sudden we hear the doorbell ring. So we hear the doorbell ringing, and whenever it rings, we have like a camera and like security system, and it's connected to our phone. So whenever somebody like moves or whenever like the doorbell rings, it'll go off and give you a notification. So my brother gets up to go see who it is, and I'm like, Jimmy, wait, stop. I look at my phone and there's no one there. And our doorbell rang again, and it rang like 5 times, and this was like around midnight, and we're like freaking out. So we look on the other side of the house by the other door to see if there's anyone, and there was no one. I don't know, it's just so weird. That's never happened. It wasn't even windy, it wasn't even like raining or anything to hit the doorbell. So yeah, so this last photo that I'm going to share is definitely the scariest ghost photo I've ever seen. So my brother Jim has allowed me to use this photo for my video, so go give him a follow at EJ25. It was his birthday weekend, and a couple of him and his friends went out to this club in like downtown Calgary, and this was probably when he was like 18 or 19, so he was using this like the cell phone. I think it was like a Sony something. It was like an older phone, and he was like just having a good time out on his birthday, taking a bunch of pictures, and they're joking around with one of his friends there, and they're like, oh, go dance with this guy. So the next day they were at Denny's and they're looking at the photos, and they found this. Like, this is for sure a ghost photo, because that phone doesn't have any apps or anything, so he couldn't like alter it on his phone, and we didn't have laptops back in the day, so we couldn't Photoshop it. I don't know, like, just the way it looks like Voldemort or something. And you can see its hands. And then like you can see in the eyes there's like the lights, and there's no other lights. There's no lights, so that has to be his eyes. I don't know, it looks like it's green and it's just floating, so I don't know. And what I noticed was that it looks like it's holding like a bottle of a beer or like alcohol. And what I've been told is that spirits like linger around alcohol. So I don't know, maybe that's the explanation, but that's definitely the scariest photo I've ever seen. So yeah, that's about it for the photos and the stories that I have. I know that there's a lot of other stories that I've heard around the reserve, like from my friends and my family, and I want to share them, but they're not my stories. I don't know, like, I'm not going to say any stories specifically, but like I've heard of like folklore, urban legend kind of stories, like what is it, like tall man, goat man, shadow people, and I think Bigfoot as well. And also on those Facebook pages I've never heard of this before, but deer woman. So I asked my friends and my family as well, like, have you ever heard of this? Because like we've heard about like goat man, whatever, and yeah, like no one's heard of that. So I don't know, I just want to know like what kind of urban legends or folklores that you guys have from your reserve. So if you guys feel like sharing any of your spooky stories in the spirit of Halloween, make sure to write a comment down below. Also, growing up, my mom, aunties, and my grandmas were always like telling us stuff like, don't whistle at night, don't look outside the windows at night, don't walk around at night, don't leave food out or eat outside at night, like a bunch of like little things like that. So also, if you guys have heard anything like that, is it like just a native thing? I don't know, write in the comments below. So that is it for me today, you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like and a comment down below, and make sure to subscribe if you guys want to see more videos like this. So yeah, hope you guys have a happy and safe Halloween. Bye for now.